Hey there, and welcome to Family Revenge. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay with us for every twist and turn. Let's jump right in. I'd been picturing my 30th birthday for weeks, maybe months. Fancy dinner, good friends, a dress that made me feel like I actually mattered for once. That night, I slipped into my blue wrap dress, touched up my makeup one last time, and headed out to the most expensive reservation I'd ever booked for myself, the Hollow, downtown Portland. I figured if no one else was going to make the night special, I would. My name's Claire. I'm 30 years old. I live in Oregon, and I've spent most of my life swallowing crap from people who should have had my back. We had a table for six: my mom, my sister Jessica, two of my closest friends from work, and my old college roommate, Tara. Everyone showed up on time, which was rare for my family. Jessica walked in last, in heels too high for her to walk in, and a face already twisted like she was doing me a favor by coming. Before we start, how's your date going, and where are you joining from? Drinks came first. I ordered a glass of red and tried to keep the conversation light. Tara complimented my dress. I smiled. Jessica rolled her eyes and leaned into my mom's ear, whispering something that made them both snort into their menus. Still, I stayed focused. We ordered dinner. I even toasted myself. Short and awkward, but I was proud. I'd made it to 30, survived a decade of family guilt trips, and being everyone's go-to fixer. I deserved one night. The food arrived, and that's when everything cracked. Jessica reached for her water glass, talking with her hands like she always did, and accidentally knocked her elbow into my plate. It flew off the edge of the table. My filet mignon, the $38 one I had looked forward to all week, landing directly in my lap with a thud and a hot splash of mashed potatoes. Silence. No apology. No gasp. Just Jessica smirking like it was a joke, and everyone else frozen like statues. My mom opened her mouth and shut it again. Tara looked horrified. My other friends glanced around, unsure if they were supposed to laugh or cry. I dabbed my lap with my cloth napkin, still warm and stinging, then looked up and forced a smile so tight my jaw hurt. Guess I wore the right color, I said, voice light. Stains won't show, Jessica chuckled. Oops, my bad. I nodded once, swallowing the lump in my throat. I wasn't surprised, just tired. The waiter rushed over, apologizing, offering a fresh plate. I waved him off. Appetite was gone anyway. The rest of the night dragged like a bad first date. I played hostess, cracked jokes, acted like my thighs weren't covered in gravy. But under the fake smiles, something in me shifted. I was done being the punchline. By the time dessert came, some cheap slice of cake they charged $12 for, I knew this was the last birthday I'd ever spend like this. And I stood up from the table before anyone could sing. I tossed my purse on the counter, kicked off my heels, and peeled off the dress like it had turned to poison. The mashed potato stain was crusted into the fabric. I didn't even bother soaking it, just balled it up and threw it straight in the trash. The house was quiet, but my mind was screaming. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. If I couldn't sleep, I might as well face the truth head on. I logged into my bank account and pulled up my transaction history. There it was, plain as daylight. $300 to Jessica last week, $500 to Mom the week before that. Car insurance payments, grocery runs, gift cards. Just because. Line after line of withdrawals that didn't benefit me at all. One screen over, I pulled up the spreadsheet I'd started months ago but never finished. It was supposed to help me budget better, but I'd used it to track how much I'd given them instead. I stared at the total at the bottom, over $22,000 in the past 4 years, not even counting the car. And for what? Not a thank you, not a birthday gift, not even a half-hearted card. I thought about Christmas 2 years ago when I bought Jessica a new iPad because her old one died. I wrapped it in gold paper and put it under the tree with her name on it. She opened it, glanced at the box, said, "Cool," and moved on. That same day, she gave Mom a necklace. Cheap, probably from Kohl's. But everyone acted like it was the crown jewels. I remembered Mom hugging Jessica tight, crying, calling her my thoughtful girl. Meanwhile, I was stuck washing dishes in the kitchen like the unpaid help. It had always been like that. Jessica was the baby, the drama queen, the one who cried louder and slammed doors harder. I was the reliable one, the good one, the one they leaned on, bled dry, and then ignored until the next crisis. I thought about the time I paid Jessica's rent because she was between jobs, only to see her on Instagram the next weekend at a bachelorette party in Vegas. Or the time mom borrowed money to fix her car, then used it to book a cruise with her church group. I didn't help them out of love. I helped them because I was scared not to. Because somewhere deep down, I thought if I gave enough, did enough, sacrificed enough, maybe they'd finally see me. That was the worst part. I'd been trying to buy their approval, and it never worked. I closed the spreadsheet and leaned back, rubbing my eyes. My chest felt tight, like I was grieving something, but I didn't know what exactly. Maybe the years I lost, maybe the version of myself I let them destroy. No more. They could call me cold. They could call me selfish. But I wasn't doing this dance anymore. I wasn't going to spend another year twisting myself into a version of Claire that made their lives easier while mine stayed small. I opened a blank note on my phone and titled it, Clean Break Plan. It wasn't going to be loud. I didn't want a scene. I wanted silence, control, a clean cut. Step 1, money. Cut the transfers, close the credit lines. Take back the things that are mine. Step 2, boundaries, real ones. Not the kind I let them push every time they cried or guilted me. Step 3, rebuild. Whatever came after, it had to be mine. My peace, my time, my rules. I was done begging for scraps of respect from people who never planned on giving it. The beer was warm now, half empty, but I drank the rest anyway and set the bottle down with a thud. Tomorrow, I start cutting them off. Not because I'm angry, not anymore. Because I'm finally done pretending they deserve me. I barely slept, but I still woke up before the sun. My body felt stiff, like it was bracing for impact. I made coffee strong enough to strip paint and sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop. It was time. I didn't hesitate. I clicked over to my credit card account, scrolled down to the bottom, and found Jessica's name listed under authorized users. My heart pounded, but my hands didn't shake. Remove user, confirm, yes, done. Just like that, her access was gone. She wouldn't be able to fill her gas tank on my dime anymore. No more brunches or online impulse buys that showed up on my bill 3 days later. Next, I opened my bank account and went through my scheduled payments. There they were, every quiet little drain. Monthly grocery transfers to mom, canceled. Spotify Premium for Jessica, gone. Cell phone bill I'd been paying for both of them since 2021, shut down. Even the Amazon Prime account they both freeloaded on, canceled. Each click felt like I was reclaiming a piece of myself. It was quiet revenge, no screaming, no fights, just silence and control. I opened my budgeting app and reworked the whole thing. What used to be family support was now labeled savings. I moved the slider up and watched the projected balance climb for the first time in years. It wasn't about the money, not really. It was about ownership. For the first time since I started working at 22, my income was finally mine. A tiny part of me wondered how long it would take them to notice. Jessica would probably find out first, maybe at a gas station when her card declined, or when she tried to buy some stupid throw pillows she didn't need. Mom would call the bank thinking it was a glitch, like she always did when the truth didn't serve her. Let them be confused. I'd spent so long padding the landing for them, softening every blow, making sure they never felt the consequences of their own choices. Not anymore. I opened my email and started sorting through old receipts and digital records. Just in case they tried to guilt me later, I wanted proof. Screenshots, confirmation numbers, timestamps. If they came at me, I'd come prepared. After that, I texted my manager and said I'd be starting work late today. No reason given. I needed the morning to myself. I poured a second cup of coffee and sat back. It was quiet, the good kind. The kind that settles in after you've finally decided to stop pretending everything's fine. I knew this wasn't over. Jessica was going to lose her mind. Mom would play mediator, act like I was cruel for not talking things through first. But there was nothing left to talk about. They never asked before draining my account. Why should I explain myself now? I looked down at my notepad, where I'd scribbled the words, clean break plan. I added a new bullet underneath the first 2 steps. Prepare for backlash. Stay calm. Don't fold. I closed my laptop, grabbed my keys, and headed out. I had one more thing to take care of before this plan was complete. The car. I drove straight to work with my jaw locked tight, heart pounding like I'd just robbed a bank. Every red light, I thought about turning around, but I didn't. When I pulled into the parking lot, I didn't go inside right away. I sat there with my phone in my lap, staring at the name I'd already typed into Google. Mason's Towing and Recovery. Beaverton, Oregon. It was a small company, local, low-key, just like I wanted. I hit call before I could overthink it. A woman picked up on the second ring. Masons. Hi, I said. I need a vehicle picked up from a private residence. It's registered in my name. I have the title and insurance documents. The person using it doesn't have permission anymore. Got it. What kind of vehicle? A 2016 Toyota Corolla, gray, plate ends in 487. It's parked at 2940 Greenway, corner lot with the white fence. Okay, she said. When would you like it picked up? She's out of town until Sunday night, I said. I need it gone before then. Friday or Saturday morning would be best. There was a pause, some typing, and then, we can do Friday at 10 a.m. You'll need to be there to sign off. I will be. We finalized the details. I gave them my registration number, proof of insurance, and asked about storage until I could come pick it up. It wasn't cheap, but I didn't care. After we hung up, I just sat there. For the first time in years, I was taking back something that was mine. Jessica had been driving that car since 2020. She'd spun some sob story about how her old Jeep broke down and how she couldn't get to work without help. I just paid the Corolla off and thought I was doing the right thing, letting her borrow it for a few months. She never gave it back. She even put a pink steering wheel cover on it. Those tacky rhinestones dug into my hands every time I got behind the wheel during oil changes. She used the car to drive to parties, job interviews, dates, posted selfies in it like it was hers. Never once offered to pay for maintenance or insurance. And every time I brought it up, she played dumb. Oh my God, Claire, don't be so weird about it. It's just a car. Number. It wasn't just a car, it was mine. Friday morning came fast. I drove out to her place at 9:30 and parked down the street. Her house looked quiet. Mailbox stuffed, porch empty. I stayed in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. The tow truck pulled up right at 10. I got out, waved the guy over, and handed him the paperwork. Back there, I said, pointing to the driveway. It's the Corolla. He nodded, went to work, and didn't ask questions. Watching him hook the car up felt like watching someone yank a tooth out. Painful but necessary. I kept thinking she'd come home early, come tearing down the street in that loud voice of hers, yelling about how unfair I was being. But no one showed, just me and the tow truck and 4 years of regret. The guy handed me a clipboard. I signed it without blinking. Once the car was secured and pulling away, I followed it in my own car to the storage lot. It wasn't far. The whole thing took less than an hour. When I parked next to my reclaimed Corolla, I walked around it slowly, like I didn't recognize it. The paint was chipped. The passenger door had a new dent. Inside was a pile of junk. Empty Starbucks cups, receipts, wrappers, a half-empty makeup bag on the floor. I opened the driver's door, tore the rhinestone steering wheel cover off with both hands, and threw it in the trash bin by the gate. Then I sat behind the wheel for a long minute, hands resting on the bare steering wheel, breathing in stale perfume and my own nerves. This was mine again. Mine. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty about it. Let her scream. Let Mom come running. I was ready. I got home from the lot, locked the Corolla in the garage, and sat on the couch with a sandwich I didn't really want. The house was too quiet, but I liked it that way. My phone buzzed once, then again, and again. 3 missed calls from Jessica, 1 from Mom, then the texts started coming in, back to back. Jessica. Are you serious right now? Where's my car? You had it towed? Without even warning me? I didn't answer. I just took another bite, chewed slowly, and waited. Jessica, you are out of your mind. Do you know how dangerous it is to leave someone without a car? I need that to get to work, Claire. This is beyond petty. Another buzz. This time, it was Mom. Mom, Claire, what on earth are you doing? Jessica just called me sobbing. You towed her car? And now she's saying you cut her off financially too? What's going on? The next one came in seconds later. Mom, I don't know what's going on with you lately, but this isn't like you. You're being dramatic and mean, just like when you were a teenager. I stared at that one for a second longer. That line hit a nerve. She always brought up when you were a teenager like I'd been some wild child. I wasn't. I just had feelings they didn't want to deal with. Then Jessica doubled down. Jessica, you've completely screwed me over. I have nothing now. No money, no car. I can't believe you'd do this to your own sister. After everything I've been through, you're unbelievable. No apology, no accountability. Not a word about how long she'd used me like a bank with no limits. Just the same old guilt and spin. I took a deep breath, opened a new message thread, and replied to both of them at once. Me, we can talk in person later today. Around 4. My place. Come if you want to have a real conversation. No excuses, no explanations. Just a line in the sand. Jessica responded right away. Jessica, I don't even know what there is to talk about. You've made it clear you don't care about anyone but yourself. I didn't answer. I wasn't taking the bait. Mom texted next. Mom, you're still my daughter and I love you, but this is disappointing. You could have handled this better. I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt, handled it better, as if I hadn't spent years handling everything better than anyone else in that family. By 3 o'clock, I had water boiling on the stove and 3 chairs set up in the kitchen. I wasn't offering snacks or playing hostess this time. I had my binders lined up, financial records, messages, the car title, all right there in black and white. The texts kept coming every 30 minutes or so. Guilt, anger, dramatic punctuation. I didn't flinch. Something had cracked open in me that morning. Not just anger, clarity. I wasn't the bad guy for saying no. I was just the first one to stop playing the damn game. At 3:45, I shut my phone off and placed it face down on the table. The room was still. No TV, no music, just the faint hum of the fridge and my own breath in my ears. I looked around my apartment. Clean, quiet, mine. I hadn't felt this kind of peace in years. Let them come. Let them rant. I was ready for all of it. Because this time, I wasn't backing down. At exactly 4:02, I heard tires crunching in the driveway. I didn't get up. I just sat at the kitchen table. Binder lids flipped open like a courtroom exhibit. The air felt heavy, but not with fear, more like certainty, like I'd finally settled into something I should have done a long time ago. The knock on the door came sharp and fast. Jessica didn't wait for an invite. She pushed it open and stomped in like she owned the place. "You've got some nerve," she said, eyes narrowed, arms already crossed. Mom followed behind her, her mouth drawn tight. And then Tom came in last, our brother, neutral as ever, looking like he wanted to melt into the wall. I hadn't expected him, but fine. Let him watch. "Sit down," I said, voice flat. Jessica scoffed, but dropped into the chair across from me. Mom sat beside her, clutching her purse like she was on trial. Tom stood behind them, leaning on the counter. I pointed to the binders. "I'm going to say what I need to say, and I'd appreciate if you let me finish before jumping in." Jessica rolled her eyes. God, this is so dramatic. I snapped the first binder shut with a sharp crack. "That was your only warning." She shut her mouth. I opened the binder again and started with the bank statements. Over the last 4 years, I've sent you, Jessica, roughly $14,000. Rent, groceries, cell phone bills, Spotify, your car insurance, subscriptions, even your pedicures. Jessica made a face. "Oh my God, no, you didn't." I slid a page across the table, line by line, with transaction IDs. Her mouth twitched, but she didn't argue. I turned to Mom. "You? Roughly 8,000. Same deal. Emergencies, car repairs, random cash apps. Plus the cruise in 2022, which you said was for spiritual healing. I paid for that entire trip. You never paid me back." Mom's face flushed pink. "Claire, honey, you offered to help." "I didn't offer. You asked, every single time. And I said yes because I thought if I gave enough, I'd finally matter to this family." I let that hang for a second. Tom shifted behind them, arms folded now. I opened the second binder. "Here are the messages every time I was asked for money. Every excuse, every guilt trip. Screenshots. Dates." Jessica snorted. "So you've been keeping tabs on us? Wow, obsessive much?" Damn right I kept tabs, because I knew someday I'd hit this wall. Mom leaned forward. "Claire, we're family. We help each other." I met her eyes, steady. "You mean I help everyone. No one helps me." Jessica snapped. "That car was my only way to get to work. You've completely screwed me." "It's my car. Paid off. Registered to me. You didn't even offer to help with the oil changes, let alone the insurance. You treated it like a handout." She threw her hands in the air. "It was a handout. You said I could use it until I was back on my feet." "That was 4 years ago." Tom finally spoke up. "Look, maybe this isn't the best way to go about it, Claire. This feels kinda harsh." I turned to him. "You've stayed out of it all this time, Tom. You don't get to say what's harsh now." He nodded slowly. "Fair." Mom jumped back in, her voice rising. "You didn't have to humiliate your sister. You could have had a quiet conversation, Claire. But no, you tow her car like some stranger." "She is a stranger when it comes to responsibility," I said. I've been her safety net for years, while she calls me uptight behind my back and dumps food in my lap on my birthday. Jessica flushed red. That was an accident. No, it was a message. And I got it loud and clear. I stood up, planted my hands on the table. This ends now. The car is mine. The money stops. If either of you needs help in the future, it will come with conditions, contracts, timelines, consequences. I will no longer give blindly. Jessica stood too, chair scraping hard. You're not better than us. I never said I was. I just finally believe I deserve more than this. Mom's face dropped. For the first time, she didn't have anything to say. Tom looked between us all, his mouth tight, eyes unreadable. Jessica grabbed her purse. You'll regret this. No, I said, opening the door for them. I regret letting it go on this long. They walked out one by one, Jessica stomping, Mom muttering, Tom quiet. I shut the door behind them. Didn't lock it. Didn't breathe a sigh of relief. I just walked back to the table, picked up the binders, and stacked them neatly. Done. I put the binders back in the cabinet, shut the door, and just stood there for a second with my palms flat on the counter. The room was quiet again, just like before. But this time, it didn't feel empty. It felt mine. No one had apologized. No one had changed. They stormed out just as entitled as they came in. But I didn't cave. I didn't explain myself into exhaustion or pretend I was okay. I finally said no. And that was enough. I poured myself a glass of wine, not to calm down, not to numb anything, but to mark the damn moment. I sat on the couch with my legs curled under me, glass in one hand, silence all around me, and let it sink in. I wasn't responsible for fixing everything anymore. That truth landed like a slow wave. Heavy at first, then clean. I looked around my place. Every little thing in it I'd paid for. The couch, the rug, the pictures on the wall. Even the chipped mug on the coffee table from a trip I took alone because no one in my family ever wanted to go anywhere that didn't revolve around Jessica. For years, I played the good daughter, the good sister, the backup plan. I kept my opinions small and my wallet open. I let them feed off my energy, my time, my money. And I called it love, but it wasn't love. It was survival. It was me trying to be needed enough to matter. God, it was exhausting. And the thing that hit me hardest sitting there, I didn't even know what I liked anymore, what I wanted, who I'd be without constantly managing other people's crap. So I asked myself, what would my life look like if I stopped trying to prove I was worth something? What if I just was? No more chasing their approval. No more explaining myself to people committed to misunderstanding me. I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed one sentence. Start living like no one's watching. Not in the TikTok way, in the actual way. In the way where I made decisions without checking how my mom or Jessica might react. In the way where I let myself take up space. I set the phone down and looked at the dark window, my own reflection faint and soft against the glass. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel selfish for thinking about myself. I felt honest. I stayed on the couch the rest of the night. No TV, no music. Just me and the low hum of traffic outside. The guilt I expected never showed up. Instead, there was relief. And underneath that, something I hadn't felt since I was a kid. Possibility. I didn't have a 5-year plan. I didn't know what came next. But I knew this. The next version of my life would be mine. Every part of it. And I wasn't going back. The next morning, the silence was still there. And it stayed. No texts, no voicemails, no guilt-laced check-ins from Mom. Jessica went dark too, which was almost laughable, considering how loud she'd been 2 days ago. I kept waiting for the next wave of backlash, but it never came. It was weird at first, like standing in a room that used to be filled with shouting and realizing you can hear your own breath again. But it wasn't sad. It was peaceful. By day 3, I was sleeping better, eating slower, not flinching every time my phone buzzed. That afternoon, I finally got one message. Tom. Hey, you okay? I stared at it for a few seconds, thumb hovering over the keyboard. And then I put the phone back down without answering. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't owe anyone my inner life anymore. If he really wanted to understand, he could show up like I did for years. Instead, I opened Instagram and scrolled through, just to see what Jessica was spinning. Took all of 5 seconds to find it. A selfie, full pout, teary eyes. Caption, some people only love you when they can control you. Family shouldn't come with strings. Classic. But what really got me were the comments. Usually she'd get a flood of support. Ugh, I know how that feels. You don't deserve that. Sending love. But this time, it was crickets. A few likes, one vague, hope you're okay. No one jumped to defend her. Probably because people were starting to see through the act, or maybe they were just tired of the drama. I wasn't smiling, but I felt something close, like justice, but quiet, not revenge. Just the truth finally breathing on its own. I closed the app and set my phone face down again. And for the first time in forever, I asked myself a question I hadn't thought about in years. What do I want? No filter, no family lens, just me. The answer came out of nowhere. Photography. I'd always wanted to try it. Not professionally, not for clout. Just to see the world differently. Capture it the way I experienced it, not how I was told to. I went online, found a decent used camera, and ordered it without talking myself out of it. $200. I didn't even hesitate. That was the best part. I didn't have to factor in anyone else's needs first. While I waited for it to ship, I started researching online tutorials. I watched a few YouTube videos, signed up for a local weekend class, and even walked around the block with my phone, trying out angles just for fun. There was something healing about noticing small things again. The cracks in the sidewalk, the way the sun hit the windows at 6 p.m., the neighbor's dog sleeping under the hydrangeas. No one was asking for anything. No one was watching. I started to realize I didn't hate being alone. I hated never being alone on my own terms. My apartment felt different now, too. Less like a waiting room for other people's problems, more like a space that belonged to me. The weight wasn't gone. I still had moments where I second-guessed myself, still caught old habits creeping in, like checking my phone to make sure I hadn't missed something important, but nothing ever came. And that, weirdly, felt good. It didn't feel like losing them. It felt like finding me. The following Friday was my 31st birthday. I didn't dress up, didn't book a reservation, didn't send out a group text trying to make other people feel comfortable. I didn't even tell most people it was my birthday. I spent the morning walking alone with my camera, snapping shots of old storefronts, dogs on porches, cracked sidewalks blooming with weeds. It felt simple and real, like breathing. That evening, I made dinner. Pasta, salad, and garlic bread that almost burned because I was too busy laughing. Tara came over, along with two girls from work who actually listen when I talk. We drank cheap wine, played records, and nobody made a scene. No gifts, no drama. Just presents. Around 8, my phone buzzed from the counter. I glanced at the screen. Jessica, happy birthday. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I know I hurt you. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until you stopped letting it happen. I really am sorry, Claire. I stared at the message for a while. It wasn't long, wasn't dramatic, but it was the first real thing she'd said to me in years. I stepped into the hallway, away from the laughter, and typed out a reply. Me. Thank you for saying that. I accept your apology, but I need you to understand. I'm not going back to how things were. I can't. If we're going to have any relationship at all, it has to be on new terms. Respect, boundaries, no more taking, no more guilt. That's the only way forward. I hit send. No fear. No shaking hands. A minute passed. No reply. That was fine. I walked back into the kitchen, grabbed my glass, and raised it toward the group. Thanks for being here, I said. This is the best birthday I've had in a long time. Tara smiled. No crazy family stories this year? Not a single one, I said, grinning. We clinked glasses. I didn't think about Jessica again that night. For once, I wasn't checking my phone, waiting to be needed, waiting to be guilted into fixing something. I just existed. And that was enough. More than enough.